Hey guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Corner. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty corner for all things Formula E. So, the Jakarta E-Prix has come to a close, and what could be said about that race? It had a little bit of everything, didn't it? An underdog done good, a couple of underdogs done good really. There was a mass brawl of breakdowns and reliability issues spread in the middle of the race. There was a bit of unnecessary contact here and there. It just threw up a really, really exciting race overall, and once again proving that Formula E delivers no matter where they go. So if you've seen this video before, I will the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look at the bonus points there. Sometimes often some drivers do something extra special during the race. On the rare occasion I do all minus points, those drivers do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Cruel Corner standings then going into this episode. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver currently is, and based on how well or how badly they did this weekend, can you see them going up? Can you see them going down? Currently a British 1, 2, 3 in the standings. Will that remain? Will someone else come in and close the gap? All will be revealed throughout this episode. So without further ado then, let's kick things off with the race winner. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. It is Dan Tinctum. Bravo, Dan. Bravo. You could say luck went his way a little bit with the way that the safety cars came out and the way that his competitors had taken their attack modes. They'd just take their attack modes, and then the safety car came out, and that then meant that they couldn't re-overtake Tinctum. The crucial one, of course, was keeping Mortara behind him for the time he did, whilst Mortara was in attack mode and Dan Tinctum wasn't. And then when that safety car came out, once again, Mortara ate his attack mode time away in that safety car period, and then when they were back on level playing field once again, it meant that there was no answer for Dan Tinctum. He qualified himself in P5, was looking like he was on course for a podium. And then, as we mentioned, the timing of the safety cars really helped him out. The way he took his attack modes, it was just brilliant. It was perfect. Yes, you can say luck for certain aspects of it, absolutely. But at the end of the day, he put himself in this position. The team put itself in this position. And the way that it plays out, sometimes luck is on your side, sometimes luck isn't. And yeah, you know, easily you could say Dan Tinctum was a little bit lucky. But nonetheless, he still had to put in that performance to be able to deliver that result. And I am not discrediting Dan Tinctum at all. What a transformation he has had this year in himself. I think there's been maybe one bad race from him so far where he got a little bit mouthy on the radio, I think, if I remember rightly. But the rest of this time this year, he's certainly just become a different driver, a different character. He's got the Porsche powertrain in the back of it. He knows it's able to do well. But when I was expecting Kiro to start strongly and peter off as the other teams developed their software and were able to close the gap on just a naturally efficient powertrain, it's not gone that way at all. And Kiro have been able to understand the Porsche powertrain more and continue to develop at the same rate, if not better than, the other leading teams around them, to be able to deliver these podiums, these, you know, pole positions, these battles that are able to be fighting for podium positions and points regularly. It's absolutely stunning. Dan Tinctum, what a weekend. What a weekend. It's 12. I'm giving him 2 bonus points. I cannot speak highly enough of him. What he has been doing this season has been absolutely fantastic, really sublime, and it honestly proves that he deserves to be on the grid in Formula E, and really just proves that when he's given the car and the equipment to do something, he will go out there and do it. So yeah, absolutely fantastic effort for Dan. First time in like 5 years that Dan's won in any category he's raced in. F2 days, wasn't it, really, since he last had a race win on the road. And of course, for the Kiro team, in whatever guises they have been previously throughout the generations, it was season 1 that they last had a victory, and of course took the championship with Nelson Piquet when they were known as Next TV. So yeah, a lot of things going on, a lot of firsts, a lot of long time since we've seen, but Dan Tinctum in the Kiro race quid pro status quo. It's 12 points to you. What a stunning effort. In second place, we of course come to Eduardo Mortara in the Mahindra, securing Mahindra's second podium this season and his first podium since 2023, I think. It's been a couple of years off the podium for Mortara. Certainly been a few years off the podium for Mahindra as well, of course, apart from earlier this season with De Vries. But yeah, for Mortara, it's been a great effort once again. And again, an unlucky one. The way the attack modes fell, he was on for the win. He had 2 minutes left of attack. We're going to be able to easily breeze down and overtake Dan Tincton down that straight, but the safety car was called for whatever bloody kicked off around them, and unfortunately then the attack mode went down to 0. There was no additional added laps, there was nothing else to go by, and that was that. So Mortara, it was a shame to see him lose out on the victory, but it was no fault of his own. He drove really well, really smart. And I think Mahindra will come away a little bit disappointed, you know, because both their drivers were up there fighting for the podiums. I think realistically, had De Vries not had his issues and his time penalty, it would have been a 1-3. I honestly believe it would have been. And maybe De Vries victory, then Tincton, then Mortara. I think there was a double podium definitely on the cards as an absolute minimum for Mahindra. So to walk away with the P2 after missing out on victory by this much, but also missing out on victory by this much for the other car as well, it must be incredibly disheartening for a team that has just made leaps and bounds this season, more than I ever expected. I knew they'd go well, they were confident with this new era, but they have just absolutely romped away with it this year and are showing up the bigger manufacturers as well. So Mortara, 10 points, a perfect 10 to him. What a great effort, what a great drive, what a great performance. Unlucky to miss out on victory, but I don't hold that against him. He drove smart, kept himself out of trouble, and delivered a well-deserved podium. 10 to Edoardo Mortara. Third place, we come to Nico Muller in the Andretti. Qualified himself down in P13, and here he is securing P3, gaining 10 places. And again, a very much a Dan Tincton situation. Was able to benefit from taking the attack modes early, and then when the full course yellows and safety cars came out and things like that, it meant that other people had taken it, they'd fallen behind him as a result of that, and then were unable to re-overtake him again. So once again, the strategy played it well, and the way that the look fell well for Muller, but also, again, he still had to make some decent overtakes, he still had to make the strategy work that he was given, and on this occasion, he really did. Muller has been a solid second driver for Andretti this year, and what has been a tough year for Andretti, and this just reiterates the fact how strong he has been. He's been able to put some fantastic teammate performances in. There were certain times where he had to drop back a load of time and hold a load of cars up, so Dennis with the time penalty still finished ahead and things like that. So he's played the team game when it matters. This time around he was able to take a podium while his teammate unfortunately had front wing damage sustained early in the race. Was still able to go around with that, and then we'll talk about what happened to Jake Dennis later, but of course he's not here and he should be on the podium, but at least Muller secures the podium for the team when his other main teammate is not. So for Nico Muller, it's 9.5 to him. For me, I think that's a solid effort, good score, just a little bit of point off for the single lap pace not quite being there, but other than that, absolutely spot on. 9.5 to Nico Muller. Fourth place, we come to Antonio Felix da Costa in the first of the Porsches. And I've got to be honest, I really didn't see much of the Porsches at all this race. It was a weird one, wasn't it? He just sort of finished fourth. And again, I think he was a beneficiary of what happened with the attack modes. Maybe initially he lost out a little bit though, because I think that second attack mode, I think he could have gone for Muller, couldn't he? So I think there was maybe a podium on the cards there that didn't quite work out. But nonetheless, for da Costa, it's yet more solid points. He's still proving that he is deserving of this seat at the Porsche team. He's done a great job this season. It just doesn't look like it's a championship car this year for Porsche, which is a shame to say, but I do think at times the drivers have been under-delivering a little bit. But with P4 for da Costa, yeah, I don't think there was much more in that. There was maybe a P3 in it, but again, the way it all fell, it's so difficult to keep up with what happened in those last few sectors and everything. It was crazy. There were so many in attack mode, so many that benefited, so many that lost out. Da Costa, however, is solid 9. Solid 9. I don't want to hold anything too much against him. Maybe a podium on the cards, but overall, a solid top 5 finish in a race where anything could happen. Everything was happening. He kept his nose clean. We didn't see much of him as a result of that, and did a fantastic job. 9 points to da Costa. Securing 5th place, we come to Nick Cassidy in the first of the Jaguars. Yeah, P5, it could have been more. Should have been more for Cassidy. So unlucky with the timing of the attack modes once again. I think he lost out on both occasions with those. So yeah, he'd have certainly been challenging for a podium as well, but as it was, of course, no additional added laps. All his attack mode ran out behind the virtual safety cars, full course yellows, safety cars, whatever. And yeah, it all sort of came to a bit of a hide into nothing. So unlucky, and as always, that's how his season has gone this year. That's how Jaguar's season's gone, really. Disappointing that we're sort of saying, oh, P5's a good finish. he was winning everything last year, wasn't he? And should have been champion, and he just hasn't been. So, yeah, big disappointment. Big shame for Cassidy not to pick up a little bit something more, but at least it's points, and that's all we can really console for the luckless Nick Cassidy. It's 8 to Cassidy for this race in particular. We know the Jaguar's not as good as it has been in previous seasons, but again, the luck didn't go his way. Podium should have been on the cards, but didn't happen. 8 to Cassidy. Next up we come to Taylor Barnard in the first of the McLarens, and after a front row start, he got himself into P3, dropped down to P3 a little place, didn't he? But there was a really dusty side of the track off the line, and they always said that if we lose a place, we're happy with that. You know, there's a long way to go in the race. And again, Taylor Barnard was a victim of circumstance when it came to the attack mode timings, and they didn't take them early enough. And then when they took them, again, it was the full course yellow safety car interventions that prevented them from utilising the attack mode that they'd just lost position to take. And then here he is finishing here in P6. Don't hold anything against him. It's yet another solid points haul. It was yet another great qualifying performance from him as well. And it's 8. It's 8 to Taylor Barnard. What a fantastic season he has been having. A rookie, can you believe? Apart from a couple of races he did last year, he has been a majority stake rookie this season. And at no point this season have I seen him act like a rookie. He has been professional throughout. He's been controlled, measured throughout. He's been a fantastic asset to the championship. He has been delivering podium after podium, pole positions, front row starts. He has been fighting up at the front where sometimes that McLaren car doesn't necessarily deserve to be. And yet again, luck didn't quite go his way this race. Could have been a podium, wasn't in the end, but still another impressive performance where he kept his nose clean and scored points for the McLaren squad. It's 8. 8 to Taylor Barnard. Great effort. And finishing behind his teammate, it is Sam Bird. Hey, Sam, how you doing, mate? Good to see you up here inside the points and matching your teammate. Couldn't match him in qualifying, however, P11, P12, something like that. That seems to be the regular position for Sam Bird. Unable to quite make it into the duels, but then has an okay race and picks up a few points. Well, here he is securing a good haul of points for the team. A double points finish is a good effort. P7 here for Sam. And again, he's going to match his teammate. It's going to be 8 points to him for that, because I think that's a good effort, a solid result, and I can't really fault him for what he did this weekend. Nothing wrong, nothing overly right, just solid if unspectacular. 8 to Sam Bird. Next up we come to Sebastian Buemi in the Envision, looking like he was on course for some good points at one stage, but again just tumbled away. And here he is picking up just a handful of points, but at least it's points for Envision. We've been saying that quite a lot this season, particularly the latter half. We've been saying, oh my God, I can't believe it's a points finish. Cannot believe it's a points finish. Well, it's a points finish, and here it is. So well done to Sebastian Buemi. Again, though, looked at one stage like it could be podium pace, really. And that's strange to say, but yeah, Envision up there once again. Tumbling down here to pick up a few points. It's not much really, is it? But at least it's something, and that's the main thing, isn't it? I think this brings them up from bottom of the standings now, does it? I don't know. They're close to the bottom anyway, so whatever happens, doesn't it? But for Sebastian Buemi, again, nothing overly wrong, nothing overly right. It's a solid 7. Solid 7 to Sebastian Buemi for what was a solid weekend. Again, if unspectacular. And behind his teammate once again, they come in 2 by 2. Hurrah, hurrah. We have Robin Freitz picking up 9th place in the second Envision. Yeah, again, Freitz didn't look as impressive as Buemi, but at least he picks up a few points. And again, it's just a solid 7. It was so difficult to work out what happened to these cars in the lower half of the field. I think Buemi had a penalty, actually, didn't he? He crossed the line higher up, so apologies about that. I do believe Buemi had a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with someone, and he finished higher up, 6th, and then tumbled to... Yeah, anyway, we're talking about Freitz now, so apologies about that, but yeah, that's just come to me now. I was falling asleep while I was watching the race. I was that bloody tired, and I've been trying to watch it again. I've still been nodding off. So yeah, this is probably the most inaccurate video I've ever done in my Cruel Corner history, but here we are nonetheless. Robin Freitz is a solid 7 anyway. Talking about him, solid if unspectacular once again, and that's that. Good points all for the Envision squad when, you know, compared to last season, they were virtually picking up nothing at all. So at least some points are better than none. Collecting the final points paying position, we come to Oliver Rowland in the first of the Nissans. Yeah, tough day at the office for Ollie. He had a little bit of contact with Pascal Wehrlein, and the race just really didn't look to be going Ollie Rowland's way. It was sort of like top 5 finish at an absolute best, really. Never was able to make his way up to the front of the field like he usually would do. I can't remember if he fell victim to the circumstance of the attack mode being taken and then the full course yellows coming out and things, but to see him just pick up a point, I mean, it doesn't really matter for his own championship, to be honest, because I think he's still 70 points ahead of his main rivals. So this 1 point is a little bit of something. It's a consolation point, making sure it wasn't a pointless exercise for everyone involved. But for the actual team standings, it takes a blow. Because once again, Porsche outscore them. I'm not sure how close McLaren are, but McLaren had a good points all again this weekend. A lot more than 1 point anyway. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to judge. But Nissan needed more from Ollie Rowland this weekend for their own benefit of the championship. And I can't say Ollie Rowland can carry the team all the way to the team standings on his own, because that's just not possible. But at least he could have maybe got a couple more points, but even so. 10th place, it's a point. The championship, fingers crossed for Ollie Rowland, is wrapped up this year, because it's going to take something drastically wrong for him to lose out on this, but at least he's just chipping away. It's 6 to Ollie Rowland. Again, nothing really wrong, nothing really right. Just picks up a point in what was a challenging race. Just outside the points, we come to Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche, and we were just saying about the championship rivals. Well, this is one of them, and he doesn't score any points at all, so he outscores the championship rival by a point, does Ollie Rowland. Pascal Wehrlein, just nothing really at all to really be said. He was just mithering down here inside the fringes of the top 10, and then doesn't even collect a point. He made contact with Ollie Rowland. Both had a sideways slide. He lost a couple of places as a result of that. Rowland continued, and in the end, P11, no points at all. His teammates up there in P4, having a good haul of points. It's 5, a Miller 05, an average performance for Wehrlein this weekend. Again, with all this that happened with the full course yellows and stuff, it's difficult to really criticise a driver, because I don't fully understand how their race was affected by the timings of them and when they took the attack modes and things. But, you know, it's 5 for Wehrlein. There was definitely a lot more in the Porsche than no points at all. Then we come to Mitch Evans in P12. Yet another pointless race weekend for him. This is, yeah, I think this is all of the season really, isn't it? He won, and then we've not seen anything of him since. He's just been a lost soul out there in the Formula E ethos. Yeah, Jaguar again, another tough day at the office for them. Cassidy got some points. Evans got here in P12. No points at all for him. It's a shame, but Evans, once again, fairly luckless. Got rammed up the arse by Jean-Eric Vergne in the early stages of the race, which was a big shame. Caused the rear wing fairing damage that was trailing around. And later on, he said that he was struggling with the actual balance of the car after that contact as well, so no doubt bent a wishbone or something. But you may as well keep going in a race like that, see what happens. But again, still no points on the board. I just feel sorry for Mitch Evans at this point. I really do. I feel sorry for whole of Jaguar. What they threw away last year to what they have got this year. They should have been more clever in London last year to at least bag the driver's title, one of them anyway, rather than just playing the silly games and too busy focusing on each other that you let your rivals slip through the net. Big shame. For Mitch Evans, it's 6 points. 6 points, don't want to be overly critical on what was yet another tough weekend at the office for Mitch Evans. Again, just needless contact by another rival, damages his car, affects his race before it even really begins, and he doesn't deserve that, but that's Formula E, and Mitch Evans really is bearing the brunt of Jaguar's downfall this season. 6 to him. In and unlucky for some P13, we come to Lucas Di Grassi in the first of the Apt Lola Yamahas. I believe that's the right way we call them round now. Apt Lola? No. Is it? I don't know. I can't remember anyway. But nonetheless, Lucas Di Grassi this weekend. P13, a good effort for the Lola squad in a tough race. A really tough race for them. Qualified down at the back. They looked like they weren't going to be really doing anything in special. We know that this is a learning year for the Lola squad. And I think with the amount of cars that did finish, but also the amount that fell by the wayside, I think this P13 is a respectable effort. Finishes ahead of a good handful of cars, doesn't get involved in any trouble, any drama, any mishaps, and was on the fringes of the point should anything go wrong later in the race. The time penalties, of course, that were coming through for the drivers as well. Yeah, just overall a solid enough weekend, and it's 7.5 to Lucas Di Grassi. I think that's a fair score, a fair effort, just slightly above an average score for him because I think he deserved it. I think P13's a good effort. 14th place, we come to Norman Nato in the Nissan. Norman Nato in the Nissan. Disqualified last time out, unfortunately, for the poor performance that he continues to have. And had he not already been disqualified on the Cruel Corner Championship, I would have been disqualifying him this race because once again, a poor qualifying effort down in 21st place, languishing round at the back, and here finishing P14 behind a good number of cars that he should have been finishing ahead of. Once again, a nothing weekend for Norman, and really not helping Nissan's chances with the team standings championship at the end of the season. It's just gone so wrong for Norman, and it continues to go wrong for him, and as a result, it's affecting Nissan. Big shame, big shame. Norman Nato disqualified anyway, couldn't score no more points, but again, another poor performance. 15th place, we come to Jean-Eric Verne in the first of the DS Penske's. And there we have it, Lotterer of the Week to Jean-Eric Verne. For the needless contact he had. He was the first driver to take the attack mode at the earliest opportunity available to him. He was trying to make his way through the pack after they just lost a load of positions. Came up behind Mitch Evans going into turn 1 and just climbed over the back of him, ripped his front wing off and caused a big problem there. He had to pit, the wing had gone underneath his wheel and he lost a load of time as a result, and then was just propping up the back of the field for the rest of the race. Big shame for Jean-Eric Verne, that, really big shame indeed. Points were going to be possible that race for them, if not anything other than that, at least it would have been something. But yeah, he has to get an of the week for that, an uncharacteristic error by Jean-Eric Verne, not something we see often, but again, just a massive power difference going into the corner. He was of course four-wheel drive, it was a very dusty circuit as well, wasn't it? Just got it wrong. Affected Mitch Evans' race, took Jean-Eric Verne out of the race, and that was that. So a Lotterer of the Week to Jean-Eric Verne. Next up, we come to the second of the Kiro Race Quid Pro Quo Status Quos Don't Break My Heart, My Achy Breaky Hearts. In, of course, David Beckman. And there we have it. Of course, it had to be Lotterer of the Week to David Beckman. His teammate is up there winning races now. Winning races, qualifying himself regularly inside the top 5. David Beckman, unfortunately, is propping her up the lower half of the field, if not at the back. A very disappointing race by David Beckman. Still yet to score any points on the board. Yes, I know he's a relative rookie once again. A couple of races a couple of seasons ago with Andretti, but apart from that, a rookie. I've given him time. I've given him all the time I can possibly give him, but this time around it has to be an of the week because his teammates winning the race. David Beckman is a relatively inexperienced rookie into the sport. I would have still expected him to finish inside the top 10, and I'd have been like, that's a respectable effort, but there's no points. We've only really seen one race where he's become close to them. The rest of the time around it's been Dan Tinkton doing all of the legwork, all of the heavy lifting, securing all these points for the team. If you'd have got David Beckman on board just to pick up the 9th, 10th, the 8th, you know, somewhere around there, it would have just added to Kiro's score that little bit better and could maybe find themselves a position in the championship come the end of the season. But Beckman, absolutely nowhere near his pace of his teammate this year, and he's had nearly a full season in the car, so that is a little bit of a concern. Lotterer of the Week to David Beckman. Next up, we come to the luckless Jake Dennis. Oh, dearie me. What a shame, Jake. What a shame. I can't believe it. Really can't believe it. He was let down in two ways this race. One, by needless contact from Nick De Vries, swiping across the front of him while they were fighting for the lead. Cut his nose off, ripped the front wing off. He thought the ring had initially gone underneath the wheel, which it briefly had, but thankfully fell free of that. The little part that was under the wheel broke off and he was able to continue. Then we had the first of the full course yellows, and then his car would not deactivate out of full course yellow once the racing returned to green, which was a big shame. And that just tumbled him down to the back of the grid, down to the back of the pack, and there was no way he was able to do anything from there. Huge shame for Jake Dennis, huge shame. There was a win on the cards there, if not P2, P3 as an absolute minimum. It's such a shame to see him have just such a tough season. Just couldn't get out of full course yellow. What a silly little malfunction to happen on a car. But it happened, and it cost him what was going to be a potential victory, a guaranteed podium. It's a solid 7 for me for Jake Dennis. What a stunning weekend he had, really. No fault of his own. needless contact from a fellow competitor, and then the full course yellow not deactivated when it should have. Shame. 7 to Jake Dennis. Last of the finishers, we come to Zane Maloney in the second of the Lola Apt Yamahas. Maybe that way round, I don't know. I will remember. End of the season, last race of the season in London, I will get it right, I promise you. If I've not already been getting it right, I just don't think I have been. How apt? Yamaha Apt Lola? Either way, Zane Maloney, solid informed spectacular once again. He gets 3 points from me. Didn't really make the progress forward like his teammate did, but again, difficult car, difficult day at the office for the Yamaha squad. You could just see that they were struggling all weekend long, really. And yeah, for that reason, it's 3. He avoids an of the week for that reason, and that's that really. Not much to say about Maloney. Again, a rookie in the sport, but seems to be comparing himself a little bit better to his teammate than the others in the championship. Barnard, of course, is excelling against his teammate. Beckman is really struggling against his teammate, and Zane Maloney, I would say, for the most part, has been matching Lucas Di Grassi. It's just that Di Grassi has been getting the more spectacular results and having that little bit more of a look when he got that podium, etc. But yeah, Zane Maloney still yet to get off the mark, but again, I don't think it tells a true picture to how his pace has been this season, because we have seen some strong performances from him. He's just been unlucky. So yeah, 3 to Zane Maloney this time around. Nothing special this occasion, but still a respectable effort. Then we come to the list of DNFers, so the last to retire in the race. The first on this list, of course, it is Nick de Vries. And there we have it. Of course, it had to be Lotterer of the Week to Nick de Vries for what was needless contact with Jake Dennis down that straight. Tried to swoop across to cut Jake Dennis off so he couldn't make a lunge up the inside of turn 1, and just made needless contact. Lucky that de Vries didn't pick up a rear puncture himself, to be honest, but he did gain a 10-second time penalty for his actions, which I feel were validated. I absolutely agreed with that. I'd have given him a drive-through, to be honest with you, to make sure that his penalty was well received and been like, look, you can't do that, because it was unnecessary. Unnecessary contact down a main straight could have been very, very deadly. If that could have pitched himself into a spin, could have been spat off into the concrete barrier. No one would have liked to have seen that. And then you've got an out-of-control car with no wheels on, veering across the track wildly down a main straight. It could have been a lot worse than it was. It really could have done. The 10 seconds was justified. But of course, we're talking about him down here because in the race itself then, the car broke down. We had all these stoppages. So just for reference, everyone, we had Stoffel Van Dorn binning it off in the wall. We had Jake Dennis unable to deactivate his full course yellow, and then we had Nick de Vries later around the lap that just broke down. The car said stop in red, and the car went red. It was a red car, effectively, briefly, and he had to stop the car on track. So all these mechanical issues all happened within the space of like half a lap, just as the first full course yellow was ending, and it was just a mad moment in the race. And yeah, de Vries unfortunately became a cropper due to mechanical failure, but he'd already done the damage himself by taking out Jake Dennis, damaging his car, and of course then picking up the 10-second time penalty for that needless contact. Lotterer of the Week to Nick de Vries. That could have been a podium guaranteed, but he made the silly choices that he did. The car later broke down on him, but I think that's revenge for what he did for Dennis. Next up we come to Stoffel Van Dorn. Didn't even make it to the green flag. Well, he did briefly make it to the green flag. The full course yellow ended. He put his foot down to the floor, and then we came to a corner and he had a brake-by-wire failure, sending him straight off into the wall, and that was unfortunate and lucky he didn't collect any other cars in the process. So yeah, a lot of mechanical issues this race and a lot of brake-by-wire failures as well. Both Maseratis suffering the brake-by-wire failure. We'll come to Jake Hughes in a minute, of course, but yeah, Van Dorn was a spectacular brake-by-wire, deactivated full course yellow, put his foot flat to the floor, came to the first corner and was like, oh shit, I can't stop. So spat off into the wall quite heavily. Thankfully he was okay, thankfully didn't take anyone else out. The maximum retirement can score in this series, which is 5. Van Dorn's getting 3. Maserati really didn't look like they were going to be doing anything at all this race, unfortunately. They were just plodding along, minding their own business. Then they maybe could have looked into a point or two, but that would have really been all it was. They didn't really have the pace at all. Van Dorn, 3 to him. a tough weekend overall. Just glad he's okay after the failure. And of course, as mentioned, Jake Hughes finishes here as well as a DNFer just behind his teammate. The first, of course, he retired earlier in the race. He had a brake-by-wire failure down the main straight, but at least he was notified of it on the car. The car told him he had a BBW1 failure, so he just lifted off the throttle, coasted down that main straight and came to a stop at the end of the escape road at turn 1, thankfully not making contact with anyone else, and was alerted in time that he was able to stop the car safely. Again, tough weekend at the office for Maserati. A double brake-by-wire failure. They need to be looking at their software because that's concerning. If Jake Hughes hasn't got the warning and then approached turn 1 with no brakes, that could have been a very, very nasty accident indeed. We wouldn't like to think about what could have been there, but yeah, at least Jake Dennis was warned. He was able to stop the car safely, and a tough weekend came to an end for Maserati with 2 cars out of the race by a software glitch, a system error, who knows. 3 to Jake Hughes as well, gets the same as his teammate, and that's that. And last but by no means least, we come to the first retirement in the race, which is of course Maxi Gunter. A tough day at the office for the DS Penske squad. Johnny Verne, literally the lap earlier at the same corner, had just wiped his nose off by ramming the back of Mitch Evans, and then Mitch Evans repaid the favour by squeezing up the inside of Maxi Gunter. Just had the slightest bit of contact, and that put Gunter out on the dust a little bit more than anyone would have really liked to have been, and he just tagged the rear of the car into the wall, and it damaged his left rear suspension. Mitch Evans picked up a 5-second time penalty for that, which I do think was harsh, because I think had the track not been as dusty as it was, then Gunter wouldn't have had that slide, and he wouldn't have put it in the wall like he did, and the damage wouldn't have been as substantial as a result. I think what Evans' move was fair, but the way that the circuit was with the dust on it meant it became unfair. But again, it's racing, isn't it? I think the move was on. Personally. I just think Gunter was a little bit unlucky with how everything played out. Normally that had just been a glancing blow and he'd been able to continue, but this time around it was what he felt was a puncture. Came into the pits and they quickly determined that it was a bent suspension arm, and he was out of the race. So yeah, Maxi Gunter, out of the maximum of 5, he's scoring 4 for a retirement. I think that's a fair score. 2 out early in the race to justify a full mark for a retirement, but still a respectable effort nonetheless. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Jakarta E-Prix. Let me know down in the comment section. Just score any drivers too high, any too low. The updated standings with the scores I've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at and have a look and see where those 3 are in the championship. 3 Brits, 1, 2, 3, and have quite a substantial lead over 4th place as well now, which is an impressive effort to say the least. It really is. British buyers clearly shining through here, but as you can see, there's certain drivers that are British that are still struggling and are in the lower half of the pack. And yeah, there's just a lot of still to play for, but I think the top 3 are secure now. We just don't know which way round they're going to finish. Is it going to be Taylor Barnard, Dan Tinksome or Ollie Rowland wrapping up this Cruel Corner Championship? One mistake from either of those could be incredibly costly. One of the week where they score 0 points will send them out of this championship hunt. We've got a few rounds left now, a few races left. They've really got it all to play for, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out. Of course, further up and down the field, everything for the runners-up positions are always available. Everyone wants to get the best position they can in this championship, and yeah, there's only one driver at the minute that is not able to make any further progress. Of course, Norman Nato, disqualified last time out, remains that way and will be the literally last of the runners no matter what he does for the rest of this season. And massive thanks as always goes out to JW97 of JW Talks Motorsport, of course. Thank you very much, buddy, as always, for providing me with the driver icons you see in the corner of your screen and for the scoreboard that you saw on your screen as well. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. So I'll see you all again in a couple of weeks' time. Are we in America next? I think we might be. Oh no, or Berlin. Berlin. And we have a couple of driver changes, don't we, for that, because there's a clash with the World Endurance Championship. Great job, Formula E. But yeah, we'll see you all then. Double header coming up. I'll be sure to try and get these out on time. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, much love.